Former President Donald Trump has now been informed that he is indeed the target of the Justice Department's investigation of the deadly Capitol attack on January 6th and the efforts to interfere with the 2020 election. Trump now confirming on social media he did receive a target letter from special counsel Jack Smith. Now, sources tell ABC News that before that letter was even sent, federal prosecutors questioned witnesses about Trump's alleged efforts to create fake electors who would essentially just hand Trump wins in 7 key states that Joe Biden actually won. Trump has long insisted that he has done nothing wrong. ABC News senior national correspondent Terry Moran is tracking it all from here in Washington, along with political contributor Sarah Isker, former Trump administration official, also former director of the DOJ's Office of Public Affairs. So, Terry, let's start with you. I mean, what could this mean for the former president? Because if we look back at the other 2 indictments, really hasn't meant anything politically.
Politically, no. What this means is he's in even greater legal jeopardy. A target letter is a letter from a prosecutor to somebody being investigated for criminal offenses by the federal government. It's the last step in many instances before an indictment. Trump is likely to be indicted for his efforts to overturn the 2020 election and his role in the attack on the Capitol. And those crimes could include everything from conspiracy to defraud the United States, a very broad charge, to false statements, those electors, perhaps to other obstruction of justice issues, those kinds of things. He's in legal jeopardy, but you're absolutely right. His response today is his campaign. His campaign is, they're attacking me, they're attacking you. He has made this rock-solid connection between his legal peril and what he describes as the peril the country is in that only he, right? Remember, he said, I and only I can save you. And there are tens of millions of Americans who believe him. This ratchets up the polarization and the intensity around this election, no question. But bottom line, he's in more legal trouble.
But can that legal trouble in any way, shape, or form, or at any time, prevent him from becoming the president of the United States?
No. The Constitution has only 3 requirements to be president. You have to be a native-born American, you have to be 35 years of age, and you have to have lived in the United States for 14 years. And the Supreme Court has said you can't add to that. That's it. So if whatever happens legally to him, he can still be president.
It's just historically extraordinary. I know I keep saying that, but we've never seen anything like it. It's unprecedented. And Sarah, let's just talk about the kinds of charges that could come out of this type of indictment. And how soon do you think we could see them? I mean, clearly, time is everything.
Oh, that's exactly right. You know, Terry laid this out, that once you get this target letter, they've closed in. What we're really talking about now is when they will present the indictment to the grand jury for that final vote. We know it won't happen most likely in the next 4 days. They offered that time for Donald Trump to come speak to the grand jury, something he is not going to avail himself of by any means. So we're looking, potentially next week, but it could be longer than that as well. And don't forget, we also are waiting for that indictment out of Georgia that we're expecting. It will look very similar to this factually in many ways, but that will be a Georgia state law related to election violations. And that call that Donald Trump made saying, why don't you just find the 12,000 votes? So these could actually end up popping in very similar timeframes. We're going to be doing a lot of distinguishing between federal law and Georgia state law in the coming month.
So we know that special counsel talked with 2 of Trump's closest allies at the time, Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, his longtime friend, attorney, advisor, Rudy Giuliani. Did they give anything up? Any goods here?
Well, we don't know. It's not entirely clear. You're absolutely right. Trump worked hand in glove in his effort to overturn the 2020 election, which he will maintain was legal, protected by the First Amendment, his right to free speech.
He was hiding anything. He was very open about it.
And Rudy Giuliani was absolutely his right-hand guy, and out on the outside and on the inside, Mark Meadows. Giuliani has said today he has not been informed that he is a target of the investigation. He added that he has cooperated with this grand jury. One can't imagine that he's flipped on Trump. But at this point, all we know for certain, and Mark Meadows has not commented, he really has laid very low throughout this investigation, of which, he was right at the heart of the matters being investigated. So he's likely been called. And in this instance, it looks like at this point, Donald Trump is the only one to have been informed he's a target of this investigation.
So, Sarah, let's talk about the latest polling from 538. It shows that Trump is well ahead in the Republican primary. We've been talking about this. How do you see this playing out politically as campaign season heats up? Because if you just look over the past week, he still is setting his own rules. He shows up when he wants to show up to any state, any conversation. He really doesn't follow what normal, can you even say normal candidates do at this time?
Politically, this is a good thing for Donald Trump right now, because every day that Donald Trump continues to be the front runner is a day his challengers are locked out of that. So if you're anyone else, any GOP hopeful, this is very frustrating. It means the news cycle will continue to be dominated by Donald Trump, that you're not going to be able to get your message through on policy or some smaller disagreement. But also it makes it very hard for them to attack Donald Trump. We haven't really seen, Ron DeSantis, Tim Scott, Nikki Haley find their way through on something like this. Nikki Haley today saying something to the effect of, look, this is why I said we need to move past the drama. That's about as pointed as it's gotten. Whereas you have Vivek Ramaswamy, someone who's polling in third in some of these national polls, with a different interesting defense of Donald Trump today, saying January 6th is what happens basically when woke culture prevents GOP voters from being able to speak. If they can't scream, then they'll break things, was what Ramaswamy was saying as a defense of what happened on January 6th. I think we're going to be hearing more of that in the coming weeks and months.
And Sarah's exactly right. These candidates don't want to attack Donald Trump, even though they want the nomination. That doesn't work in politics, and they don't want to because they know the one who takes Donald Trump down, if anyone can, won't get that nomination. It'll be somebody else. They're waiting for somebody else to do their dirty work for them. Prosecutors, the press, someone else. And he's just coasting towards his nomination.
He just sets his own rules. All right, Terry. Sarah, thanks, you guys.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.